Hi, my name is Perla, and I am here to talk with you about relational databases in the cloud. I will make a demo to show you how to make a database with PostgreSQL and Amazon Web Services, and then even introduce some information in it. Let's get started. Okay, databases in the cloud. First of all, I want to clarify that a relational database is a persistent data storage mechanism. Lots of software applications rely on databases to store information. Relational databases group information by categories. These categories are used to call tables. Each table has data organized in rows. I always recommend to take a time to design the database. Keep in consideration what kind of information you need to store and the actors that will interact with that information. For this example, let's imagine that you are in charge of creating a database to keep track of the appointments at a hair salon. Every time a customer calls to make an appointment, the assistant asks for the following information: the name, phone number, the hairstylist, the date, and the time for the appointment. As you can see, we have a table that can help us to keep track of the appointments. But what will happen when we have regular customers? We'll be writing over and over again their names and phone numbers. That will happen too if we need to store the phone number of the stylist. Wouldn't it be better to get the customers and the stylist information once and use it anytime we need it? Okay. We can create a table to store information we need from our customers, like this. We can assign an ID to every customer, then a name, phone number. We will assign this ID in order to keep track how many customers we have. This number will be unique, so we can have customers with the same name or even the same phone number. For example, relatives in the same family, but they will have a unique way to be identified. The ID is commonly named primary key in the database's vocabulary. We can follow the same idea and create a table with the stylist information. As you can see, maybe it could be a good idea to save the phone number of the stylist in case we need to contact them, as well as the specialty like women haircut, men haircut, coloring, etc. Now that we have the two new categories, we can make some adjustments in the appointments table, like this. Now, we don't need to repeat the name and phone number of the customers and stylists every time. We just need to add their IDs, this unique number called primary key. You may think that this is too complicated to separate the data into three categories, but when we have many customers coming to the business, we can avoid repeating information and, more important, save storage space. Now that we have our model, it is time to build our database in the cloud. As you can see, we have three tables. So let's get some fun and create our model in the cloud. Creating the database in Amazon Web Services is really easy. The first thing to do is log into your account in Amazon Web Services. If you don't have one, you will need to create it. In my case, I already have an account, so I will click in Sign In to the console. Okay. Once you are in your console, select the service RDS, which is here, or you can just type in this box. Go to the section Databases. In this section, you will be able to see all the databases you already have. In this case, we are going to click in Create Database. Here, you can choose between different database engines. I would choose PostgreSQL case and click Next. You need to specify if you are going to use the database for production or for development. For this example, I would choose the test because I really don't have plans to deploy my app yet, and I want to use a free tier. Next. In this section, we are going to set the specifications for the database. I recommend to click in this checkbox to see only the options available in a free tier to avoid unexpected charges. You can make modifications in the future if you plan to use the database in production. The default specifications in the first section are okay for this example. They make reference to the license and the storage type. What we need to specify is the name of the instance, user, and password. Case will be hair salon bebé. And I will use hair salon user as the master username. And you can specify a password. Just be sure to remember this information because you are going to use it to connect in the future. In network and security, we don't have many options for a free tier, but be sure that the database has public accessibility for now, but keep in mind that this is not a good practice for production. If you plan to use your database in production, the best is always avoid a public IP and communicate using the Amazon Web Services channels always. Let's create new VPC security group as we don't have a group created. You can specify your security group if you have any. In the database options here, you need to specify the name of the database. In this case, I would use the same name. Here's along the bed. DB. And this is the port that Amazon Web Services will be using to connect with the database instance. You can manage your database user credentials through Amazon Web Services, IAM users and roles. This could make your connection more secure. In this case, I will choose disable as I would not be covering users and roles in this demo. Let's go until log exports and select PostgreSQL log. Here, this could be helpful to keep track of any possible crash while working with the database. And finally, to avoid deleting accidentally your database, let's click in this checkbox. And that's all. Let's click and create database. Now, this could take a little bit of time, but after the process, you will be redirected to the database overview. And it could take a little bit of time until the configuration is complete. Once the setup is ready, you will be able to connect to it. Let's click and view the DB instance. And here it is. As you can see, the status is creating. So it can take a little bit. For this example, I already have a database created. So I am going to use this one in order to show you how to connect now that after you have a database created. So in order to do that, I will be using Postbird, which is a cross-platform PostgreSQL user interface client. Let me see. Here it is. So as you can see, we'll click and add. As you can see, Postbird will ask for information such as host, port, username, password, database, and we already have that information in our console, in Amazon Web Services console. So let's go in, see the overview of the database. And here in connectivity and security, you can see that Amazon Web Services provides an endpoint to connect with our database. This is the data we need to provide for the host in Postbird. So let's copy this information. And in Postbird, we are going to substitute localhost for the endpoint of our database. And now we are going to use the information we set at the beginning sir, the password that we already set, and the name of the database. Okay. Again, in this case, I am using a previous database that I created, which is using the same concept. So click in test connection to check that your connection is working. If everything is working well, you may be able to see this message. If you just created your database, you may not be able to connect immediately, but don't panic. If you are sure that your data is correct, just wait until the setup is complete. And if it still is not working, you can reboot the service and try again. The way to reboot your service is here in this button in Actions, and then reboot. Okay, I am not doing that in this moment, but that is a good strategy if you see that it's not connecting and all your data is correct. Okay, now I am going to connect. And as you can see, what we are looking at in this moment is a database, an empty database that we are going to populate. This is a representation of our database in the cloud. So This is great because we can provide all the structure. And one way to do that is including a query with SQL. Copy and paste your code. I already had this information before, but you can start or create your comments from the very beginning. So we have here our model customers, which has the 3 fields that we specified before: customer ID, name, and phone number. Okay. Then the next table is hairstylist, stylist ID, name, phone number, specialty, and finally appointments, which has an appointment ID, customer ID, and a stylist ID, also date and time. And well, as you may know, we are connecting or we are using foreign keys to specify, or these constraints specify the IDs that are common with other tables, which in this case is customers and hairstylists, has these 2 IDs in common with this table. And that's it. Let's run the query. And we have now 3 different tables. If you click in one of them, you will be able to see the structure, and that's it. Now we have a relational database in the cloud ready to be used in a web app or any other application that you may be working on.